I spent a long time believing that protein meant meat, and that if I could not face meat, I had simply missed my chance that day. That belief cost me more than I would like to admit. By about 62, I was cooking one proper dinner and then coasting on toast and tea for the other two-thirds of the day. I was not eating badly. I was eating badly spread out. So this is the 5 things I keep in the house now that do the same job as a chop, and not one of them is meat, and not one of them is fish. Not one of them comes in a tub with a scoop in it. Most of them cost less than a sandwich, and one of them I had been walking past for 30 years. No miracle cures, no scare stories, nothing to buy. Just what's actually true. I've put these in order, from the one that helps to the one that changed the most for the least trouble. The one at number 1 sat on the chilled shelf my whole adult life, and I never once picked it up because I had decided what sort of person ate it. That one comes last. Maybe you've noticed you cook properly once a day now, and the rest is whatever is quick. Maybe meat has started feeling like a lot of work for a Tuesday. Maybe you get to the evening and could not honestly say what you ate before 4 o'clock. I know. Those are not examples. They are mine. I thought that was just age. It wasn't. Number 5. The bag in the freezer nobody thinks of as food. Frozen peas. Peas are the thing you put next to the actual food. That is their whole job, as far as I was ever concerned. Then somebody pointed out to me that a proper serving of them carries about as much protein as a small egg. And I did not believe it, and I looked it up, and it does. They will not carry a day on their own. What they do is fill in. On the evenings, I had made something thin. A mug of peas gone through the microwave turned it into something with a bit of substance behind it. And there is a version of me that would have found that pathetic, standing at the counter eating peas out of a mug. That version of me was also the one skipping half his day, so I have stopped listening to him. They keep for months, and they are already in most freezers. That is number 5, and it is the smallest thing here by a distance. Number 4 is the one I had convinced myself I was supposed to be cutting down on. Number 4, the block I felt guilty about for 20 years. Ordinary hard cheese, cheddar, or whatever the equivalent is in your shop. I spent 2 decades treating cheese as a thing to feel slightly bad about, which meant I ate it anyway and just felt worse. What I had never done is look at what a piece of it actually gives you. A matchbox-sized piece carries a serious amount of protein for something that requires no cooking, no plate, and no decision. That is the part that matters at 4 in the afternoon when the alternative is a biscuit or nothing. It is rich, and it is salty, and a person can absolutely overdo it. What I stopped doing was pretending it was a treat rather than food, because that framing was why I only ever ate it standing at the fridge door. Now it goes on the plate with the lentils or the peas, in a normal amount, like an ingredient. The guilt was doing nothing for me, and it was costing me the one bit of protein I would actually reach for without being talked into it. That is number 4. Number 3 is the one I had filed under something you eat when you cannot afford anything else. Number 3, the bag that costs less than a coffee and cooks itself. Red lentils. The small orange ones that go soft and disappear. This is the one I ignored the longest, and it was snobbery. And it was expensive snobbery. A bag costs about what 1 cup of coffee costs out, and it will do 6 dinners. What changed my mind was how little they ask of you. No soaking, no watching. Twice as much water as lentils. Walk away for 20 minutes, come back to something thick. I started stirring a couple of handfuls into whatever soup was already happening, which meant I was not cooking a new thing at all. On how much? A normal serving is roughly what fits in a cupped hand dry, alongside whatever else is on the plate. If chewing has got harder, this is the easiest thing on the whole list because there is nothing to chew. And if you take anything for blood pressure, or anything that mentions your kidneys, lentils are worth 1 sentence with your pharmacist before you start eating a lot more of them, because they carry a fair amount of potassium. Ask, and do not adjust anything on your own. Start with them inside something you already make, rather than as a meal of their own. That is the version that stuck for me. What I noticed was not dramatic, and I will not pretend it was. I stopped arriving at dinner genuinely hollow, which meant I stopped eating dinner like a man who had been waiting for it since lunch. That is number 3. Number 2 is the one I had decided was for children. Number 2, the tin at the back that I thought was wartime food. Milk, and specifically dried milk powder. A glass of ordinary milk carries a decent amount of protein, and most of us already have it in the house. The half worth talking about is the powder, which I had firmly filed under something my mother used, because there was nothing else. What it actually is a way of making the milk you already use do more. A couple of spoonfuls stirred into the milk in your porridge, or into a soup, or into a mug of ordinary cocoa at night, and the same drink is carrying noticeably more. It changes the taste a little, and I would rather say so than have you find out and think I had oversold it. It keeps in the cupboard for months, which for me was the whole point, because the food I actually eat is the food that does not require a shop. That is number 2. Number 1 is the one I walked past for 30 years because of what I thought it said about me. Number 1. The tub I was too proud to put in the trolley. Cottage cheese. I had it filed as diet food, sad food, something eaten by somebody being punished or punishing themselves. That is 30 years of not picking something up because of a story I had made up about it in about 1985. Here is what it actually is. A normal tubful carries more protein than most of the things I was eating instead of it. It needs no cooking whatsoever, and it is one of the cheapest ways to get that much of it. This is the one I would change first if I could only change one thing on this list. What I do is keep a tub open in the fridge and put a couple of spoonfuls next to whatever lunch already was. Not instead of the lunch, beside it. A few heaped spoonfuls is a real serving, and there is no need to sit down to a bowlful unless you want to. If plain is not for you, and it was not for me at first, something sharp with it helps more than you would expect. A bit of pepper, or something from a jar, or fruit if you would rather go the other way. It is soft, so it is easy on the days chewing is not appealing, which after 60 is more days than I expected. One honest caution. It is salty, so if you are watching salt for any reason, that is another one-sentence conversation with your pharmacist rather than a decision to make on your own. The confession is that I resisted this for a year after I first read about it, and the reason was not the taste. I had never tasted it. The reason was that I did not want to be a man who ate cottage cheese. I am now a man who eats cottage cheese, and my legs are steadier on the stairs than they were at 60, and I would trade the dignity again. Your day, start to finish, put together. None of this is a diet, and none of it is a plan. It is what one ordinary day looks like now. Porridge in the morning, with a couple of spoonfuls of the milk powder gone into the milk, which takes no extra time at all. Lunch, whatever it already was, with a few spoonfuls of cottage cheese sitting beside it on the same plate. Mid-afternoon, a piece of cheese, instead of the standing at the fridge biscuit. Evening, whatever is cooking, with a couple of handfuls of lentils gone into it, or a mug of peas alongside it if the meal came out thin. Not one of those is a meal I had to learn to make. Every one is a small addition to something that was already happening. The honest part. Some of this you will notice inside a fortnight, and some of it you will never feel at all. The being less hollow by dinner part turned up for me in about 10 days, and it was the thing that kept me doing it. Anything to do with what your body builds with works on the scale of months and years, and there will be no morning where you feel it happen. What none of this fixes is the tiredness that made cooking feel like too much in the first place. Food is not the answer to that on its own, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. And some of it is a body that has been going for 60-odd years and is entitled to be. It might just be your age, and that's allowed. Not everything that changes is a problem waiting on me to solve it. So, the 5. Frozen peas for filling in a thin meal. Ordinary cheese for the 4 o'clock gap without the guilt I carried for 20 years. Red lentils for going into something that was already cooking. Milk and milk powder for making a drink you already have do more. And cottage cheese at number 1, which I avoided for 30 years for reasons that had nothing to do with food. Every one of those 5 is in an ordinary shop, and none of them costs much, which is the part I like about this one. I'm not asking you to change what you eat. I'm telling you that the day I stopped believing protein had to arrive on a plate with a knife and fork beside it was the day I stopped losing 2/3 of my day to toast. Tell me which of the 5 is already in your house. I read every single one. Here is to the healthy living years.